Monday edition of the show. All across America on SportsMap Radio. We are worldwide on the SportsMap Radio app. Good to be with you. A few minutes late. Technical gremlins. And I'm happy to say it is not the fault of our producer engineer extraordinaire, man pushing all the buttons in Houston, Brian McDonald, or the fault of the show before us, forgetting to hang up their connection. Nope, this was all on us. All on us. Doesn't matter why. The bottom line is we rearranged our broadcast setup, and everything got unplugged. And when it got plugged back in, something got plugged into the wrong hole. There's no way to test it until we're actually on the air. Everything looked like it was fine, and it wasn't. So there you go. How are you, Brian? You were getting ready to host? You should have just jumped on and said this is the cash in. You could have. I would have totally been okay with that. No, I would. You could have said Brian McDonald just sitting in, Jason Page getting squared away. I would have been fine. We have now made it clear that when you are working on the show, you only have this permission. You are free to do what you need to do. Oh no, but Belmer doesn't work on the show anymore. I don't know if it'll be permanent, but for the time being, John Belmer is not part of the cash-in family. He's not dead to us. I wouldn't say that. I think that's a little extreme. All right, he could be dead to you. He's not dead to me. I still like the guy. So we got a busy show tonight, as we do every night. 3 hours of me having to smell this house smelling like tofu stew because my partner decided to make tofu stew on my fasting day. So I'm just literally starving right now while he eats. So that also means on a fasting day for me, it means you're going to get 2 hours and 54 minutes of hangry Jason. Because I am going to be hangry for the next 2 hours and 52 minutes. I am going to be outright hangry. No, I can't. No, the fast means I don't eat today. I had a Starbucks drink this morning and a 240 calorie sandwich. So my total calorie count today will be under 500 for the day. Yeah. Tomorrow, I it's just for today because I was a really bad boy over the weekend. I really ate bad this weekend, so I had to. It was as bad, except it was 2 days this time around. Yeah. Yes, I do, and comes a little punishment when you do stuff like this. Our 2 for 1 tonight, I am happy to announce Jenn Mueller will be with us for tonight's show. She will be with me coming up 23 minutes from now. Geno Smith's got a new deal in Seattle. We'll talk about it with Jen. She works the sidelines on Seahawks radio broadcasts. She also works on the Root Sports Northwest broadcasts for the Seattle Mariners. So we'll get to talk to her about an early look, well, somewhat early look. I mean, spring training's a couple weeks in now. And, getting a feel for what year 2 of Julio Rodriguez has in store. I mean, does it... I knew you would say that. But Jen will join us, and we'll get some thoughts with her. And, it's important for that organization, for the Mariners, now that you've set the tone of being a postseason team, you have to go back this year. Even if it is as a wild card, you've got it. I mean, you have to improve or at least stay level with what you were last year. And that's the challenge. A lot of teams can jump up for 1 year and bite you, but it's hard to do it back-to-back years. It's hard to get that sort of consistency, especially when you are, in essence, and I know Mariner fans won't want to hear this, playing for second in the American League West. Unless and look, anything could happen. We see it every year in sports. Somebody can get hurt, rotations, injury bugs, all this stuff. But anyway, we'll get into it with Jen coming up. in a couple minutes. I had planned to start the show talking about Ja Morant. I will hold that over to the other side, and we'll get into the mess that is Ja Morant. We'll hold that over until the next hour of the show. You know what tomorrow is? I have dubbed it. I don't know if anybody else calls it this. I'm going to call it Tag Tuesday. Huh? You like that? How about, come on. That's a cash-in original. Tag Tuesday tomorrow. Tag you're it? No, it's tag you get millions and millions of dollars if you're a quarterback in the NFL. And if you're Lamar Jackson, tomorrow's Tag Tuesday comes with all sorts of suspense because you could be getting $32 million for the 2023 season, or you could be getting $45 million for the 2023 season. It's a pretty big difference. I mean, that's $13 million. It's no small deal. And it could be the difference between whether Lamar Jackson, turns around and says, hey, just trade me, or I'm going to sit if you do match any deal. Or it could be the difference between a team jumping up and giving Lamar Jackson some insane deal that the Ravens cannot possibly match, and then Lamar Jackson going elsewhere and the Ravens just getting a couple of first-round picks, which isn't terrible, but you would think in the open trade market they'd be able to get more than that for Lamar Jackson. So tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day. We're going to have plenty to talk about around the NFL by this time tomorrow night. The Giants with Daniel Jones, the Lamar Jackson stuff that we've obviously talked about, and a whole slew of other things. So, and we've already got some quarterback movement. The first domino fell in the quarterback market, and it was not Aaron Rodgers. How about them apples? She's coming home with me. I mean, the New Orleans Saints go and get Derek Carr, and I have to be honest, and credit, Jason Cole had talked about this at great length, said he didn't think Derek Carr was a fit for New York. And you know what? It means it's one less option for the Jets in the event that Aaron Rodgers isn't tradable or doesn't wind up being on the market. We'll get into all of that as we continue on the other side as well. I'm Jason Page. We're just getting started on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. Yeah, so something in the back of my Roadcaster so my husband the other night when we switched up the desk configuration, he thought he had plugged everything back in where it needed to be. The problem is when I dialed in, everything sounded normal. Everything was hooked up normal. I could hear programming, but you weren't hearing me. And then when I tore apart the configuration and looked at the back, I figured out what the problem was. It was fun. Good times. Good times. Yeah. Oh, it was great.
A voice unlike.
Yeah. Nah, it was something else. Me just playing with my sound effect buttons.
Want more of.
Oh, you would have liked that one. Yeah, you knew from that one note. Wow. Nice.
Time to play the game!
Yeah. Yes, it is. All right. Yeah, Jenn Mueller is the 2-for-1 tonight. Yeah, you've never been on when I've had her on? She's my favorite. She is so good at what she does. She's my favorite in terms of like non-players. because she gives such great insight. She's concise, well spoken. Yeah. If I were to have a co-host and went the route of like talented female co-host, it would be her. Yeah. The call-in number is 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. From anywhere in America, anywhere at all. The cash-in text line is open, 888-670-8549. Write that number down because we're also going to use that to do some very special things on this show, on a very special edition of the cash-in. 888-670-8549. That is the cash-in text line. If you don't like the sound of your voice and you just want to hear my voice and feel like texting in, you could do that as well. Jenn Mueller is coming up in 15 minutes from Root Sports. She works on the Mariners broadcasts there, also of the Seahawks sideline reporter on the radio broadcasts. Looking forward to talking with her. It's going to be fun. Get some thoughts with her on, all things Mariners and Seahawks, and in particular, the Geno Smith news of today, which is Geno Smith. Good deal for him. Cashing in 3 years, $105 million. And you have to wonder what that does in the free agent quarterback market, because now it sort of resets it. Everybody talks about, this idea that Lamar Jackson should get this much because Deshaun Watson got this much. Well, what happens when Geno Smith does a deal for $3 and $105, coming off a year with 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and doing some things that I don't think anybody in the NFL was necessarily anticipating? What does that do for this free agent market? What does it mean for Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, let's be honest. If Geno, who's how old? I mean, Geno's got to be, I think everybody's like 31 or 32 in this class. Geno Smith is, I will give you the exact age. Geno is 32. So they're all the same. Derek Carr's 31 or 32. Jimmy Garoppolo is 31 or 32. Lamar Jackson is, let's see. He's 20. He is, hold on, I'll tell you exactly. Lamar Jackson, 26. Lamar's 26, with one playoff win to his credit in his career. One playoff win. He has as many playoff wins as Daniel Jones. I'm just saying. No, but I'm saying if you look at all these guys that are left out there, well, what's the asking price then? What winds up being the asking price for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been to a Super Bowl, for crying out loud? Carr gets $150 million over 4 years, but only guaranteed through 2024. So that means he's got 2 years guaranteed. He also has a no trade clause. But the Raiders could cut Carr ahead of, or the Raiders did cut Carr ahead of the February 15th deadline. He would have made $32.9 million. So he's getting some decent coin here. I look at the spot track deal on it just to sort of get, the particulars on it. But if you look at Derek Carr, guaranteed through 24, 25 has a roster bonus. The potential out is after the 25 season, basically. He's going to get $30 million in base salary in 25, whether he's on the team or not. But he gets, another $10 million if he's on the roster, basically, is what it boils down to. But the big money for him is in years 1 and 2. Year 3 it's a little less, and then there is no year. I mean, for all intents and purpose, let's be honest, Derek Carr signed a 3-year deal. I mean, there's no getting around that. You could tell me it's for 4 years, but there's all sorts of outs after the 30, and it costs them almost nothing to get out of the deal after 3 years. So they're going to get him in his year 30, in his 32, his 33, and 34 season, when he should still be a decent quarterback. I mean, so to me, it's a good deal for New Orleans. I don't know how I feel about, paying a guy an average of, I don't know what it winds up being, 30, 60, 100, essentially $100 million for 3 years. I mean, I guess it's a fair deal for Derek Carr. But what does it mean for Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, if I'm Garoppolo and I walk into a room and I'm the same age as Derek Carr, I've won more. I almost won a Super Bowl. Derek Carr, the closest he's gotten to a Super Bowl is buying tickets. I mean, he's not getting there any other way so far in his career. So to me, Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he should get at least $35 million a year. At least. I don't know. I think Jimmy could ask for... I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to get the same thing as Geno Smith, you're telling me? I tell you, it just tells you the people are just down on Jimmy G. And again, maybe some of it has to do with the injuries. I get it. But I can't get my head around. By the way, if Derek Carr gets to that 4th year, he gets $50 million in base alone. I mean, he's doing all right if he gets to year 4, but I don't think there's any chance he sees the 4th year of that deal. You can mark that one down right now, Brian McDonald. Note the time in the captain's log. Oh my God! Do you know they hit me once? They got me. I forget what it was, but they got me, and I made the mistake of firing back at them. Worst mistake I ever made. I had no idea how just fanatical their army is. And they came after me. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Who cares hold on a second. Who cares what you have to say about anything? Why are they coming after you? I mean, my God. Well, we practically did tonight. But no, seriously. Like, I mean, they came after Brian McDonald? I mean, how many followers do you even have on Twitter? Yeah. You still feel vindicated. I get it. And what happens with Lamar tomorrow? Oh, man, I'm on the edge of my seat for this one. Do they go non-exclusive? Would they really do that? Almost daring another team to come in and just go crazy? And if they do go non-exclusive, the fun question becomes, who just goes all out? Just says, we will spend whatever it takes to get Lamar Jackson. Do you do that if you're the Jets? And I know we had on Matt Verderam from Fansided last week at the Combine. Is he still Fansided? I gotta go look that up. But we had Matt Verderam on the show, and he's one of our resident NFL experts who we love. Oh, it's official. I can now say it. Matt Verderam has left Fansided. He is an NFL staff writer now for SI Now. So congratulations to our friend of the program, Matt Verderam, who has elevated himself in his professional world. He is now officially an NFL staff writer for SI. I mean, that's pretty cool. So congratulations. He actually announced it today. So Matt Verderam came on the show and said, why not Atlanta? They basically went to the wire neck and neck with Cleveland on the Deshaun Watson deal. So his point is, why wouldn't you do the same for Lamar Jackson? Especially in a division that's very winnable. I think that's a valid point. If you're the Jets and you go get Lamar Jackson, you might still be the third best team in the AFC East. I mean, if you assume that Tua Tagovailoa is healthy next year, which is a big assumption, I mean, maybe it's Miami that goes after Lamar Jackson. Oh, he's not. Wait. Did I miss something? What? Rich Eisen does his show in L.A. How the hell would he know what's going on in Miami? And I love Rich Eisen, by the way. I guess. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Tom Brady to Miami. Oh, listen, I'm still not. Yeah, no. He's not retired. He's not retired until he misses a full season of NFL action. I don't care what paperwork he submitted. That's just for logistics, so he can get his, his NFL's version of Social Security. He's not retired. Simple. Tom Brady is not retired. I'm calling it hashtag fake news. Hashtag fake news. It ain't real. Fake news, ESPN. Jenn Mueller's coming up on the other side. Root Sports, Mariners, Seahawks. She knows it all. She joins us next on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Don't go anywhere. All right. The great Jenn Mueller is going to join us. La la la. Good to have you with us tonight. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Spending some time with our good friend Jenn Mueller, who's been gracious enough to grace us with her presence tonight on the program. She does a great job on Seattle Mariners TV broadcasts with Root Sports. Also on the Seahawks radio broadcast. She is one of the world's busiest broadcasting sport women around, and she gives us some time tonight on the show before she heads back to spring training to rejoin the Mariners. I'll try to fit them in either later in this segment or on the other side because there's a lot to talk about with that team. But let's start with the obvious, and that has to be the deal for Geno Smith today. 3 years, $105 million. This thing went pretty late, though. I'm surprised it didn't get done earlier. Were you?
Not really. I guess I just believed both sides when they said they wanted to get the deal done. You know, there was interest in both sides. If you have had ongoing conversations from the time the season ended until now, I don't think there was any sense of panic by anyone. I think there was a lot of curiosity among Seahawks fans.
All right, hold on. For some reason, they can't. Hold on one second, Jem. For some reason, the audience can't hear you, and that's never happened before. Not sure why. I hear you, though. But hold on a second. We'll try and see if we can fix that. Give me 1 second here. See if we can get you plugged in. Why don't they hear her? That is the strangest thing. Everything's plugged into the board.
My family wishes they couldn't hear me most of the time. This is most people's dream come true.
No, it is not. Stop it. Yeah. It's not most people's dream. Hold on 1 second. Now I am going to actually send your number to Brian McDonald, just so he has it and can get you up on his side. Because for some reason I don't hear you on ours. I have no idea why. I've never had that happen before. It's very bizarre. It's really weird. Yeah, that's really strange because you're coming through loud and clear for me. Yet for some reason, nobody else hears you. Really strange.
So you're talking to yourself.
I'm literally talking to myself in front of a national audience right now. It's really fantastic radio. Brian,
you're a imaginary friend.
Yeah, it's all right. Brian, I'm just sending you her contact information. So Brian's going to call you. So I'm going to hang up with you and let Brian call you, and then we're gonna put you on that way. Go ahead and call her, Brian. I just sent you her information. That's really strange. Don't know why that happened. At any rate, we'll talk with Jenn Mueller coming up here in just a second and try and figure out why I could not talk to her through our board tonight. Very odd. So we'll get Jen on and get her thoughts on the deal for Geno Smith. 3 years, $105 million, in case you missed it earlier today. And there we go. Now Jenn Mueller joins us on the show. All right, so again, explain why, besides the fact that I'm an incompetent imp and can't get my my board working properly, why it is that this deal went right up until the end. What does this mean for them draft-wise, though? I mean, do they still try and get a quarterback at 5? Is one of the big 3 going to be there at 5 for them? Is there the belief that Geno Smith is the right guy to groom a quarterback if they decide to go that route? Do you think there's a chance they trade down? Wow. No, I know. I'm not holding you to it. What as sort of this, the dust settled from this season, and we were able to kind of do more of a post-mortem on this Seahawks season. Is there anything that kind of stood out that maybe not in the moment, while you're in it going right up to the end of the season? Is there anything that sort of stands out to you about this 2022 edition of the Seahawks as it relates to their future? How surprising is it? We were talking about this whole quarterback thing and the idea of, what they do at the position. And who knows, maybe they still do figure out a way to go get a quarterback if the right guy is there. Knowing Pete Carroll the way you do, I saw this story about Anthony Richardson and how he, said he felt this, quote, instant rapport with Pete Carroll. Does it surprise you that at his age, he is still able to connect so well with younger players, especially somebody that's, as young as Anthony Richardson is? Talking with Jenn Mueller, giving us some time. Seahawks sideline on the radio broadcasts, Mariners broadcasts with Root Sports as well. She does a terrific job there. A thought on this Mariners team, and I was talking about it at the top of the show. The idea that you have to sort of start thinking about, this season and the idea of this Mariners team building off of last year. It's nice to make the playoffs, but it can't just be one time if you're talking about building this thing for the future. I have 30 seconds left in this segment. Talk a little bit about what this team needs to do to grow from last year. Jen, hold on, because I got cheated at the start of this interview because of some technical problems. I'm gonna hold you over. We'll come back on the other side with Jen because I got to ask her a couple more things real quick on the other side. Jenn Mueller, Seahawks, does a great job on the sideline reporting for them and also on the Mariners TV broadcasts. She's getting ready to head back out to spring training. We'll ask her about Julio Rodriguez, one of baseball's brightest stars, next on the Cash In. That's so weird that you could not hear her. I don't understand. I do not understand that. No, but you're hearing everything else. Hold on. You hear this. You heard that. No. Hold on. No, hold on. Do you hear this? Hold on. No, hold on. I'm not playing anything yet. Wait. Not yet. Wait. Do you hear this? No. Do you hear this?
Welcome to I Cook, You Measure.
Yeah, you hear that. That's coming through the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. Especially because this is a Bluetooth. So it just runs right through the board. What the hell could that be? Hold on. Let me know if you hear this when I play it. Hold on. Hold on. I'm not playing anything yet. No, not yet.
Now second and 10.
You hear that?
Cone's been facing pressure all night.
You hear that? How the hell were you not hearing her then? That means it was a glitch. Tell her I'm calling her back right now. Joined by the great Jenn Mueller. Seahawks Sideline, Mariners TV. Giving us some time. Isn't Dave Sims the greatest, by the way? Dave Sims is I've known Dave Sims. I've been talking to Dave Sims forever, and I grew up with Dave Sims on WFAN in New York as a kid, and I got to talk to him during the Mariners' run to the postseason last year. I love that dude. Such good people.
Yeah, what an iconic call, too.
Yes. Yep.
Great call.
Dave Niehaus was smiling somewhere. I can promise you. He absolutely was. So year 2 of Julio Rodriguez. Last year, he came and sort of took baseball by storm. Had the big spring training, made the team. Now he's basically the face of the franchise a year later, and has to come into the season sort of carrying that. Give me a sense. You were down at spring training. You're getting ready to go back. Give me a sense for the feeling around Julio and anything you notice in a difference from spring training last year to where we are now.
Well, it's funny that you say year 2 of Julio because we've actually been around Julio for a few years. He was there as a minor league invite. And so when I say that nothing has changed outside of the amount of mail in his locker and the number of people looking for his autograph, I've got a pretty good base to compare it to. That's really good news for Mariners fans. Look, he still has the same smile. He's got the same charisma. He has got the same work ethic. He just commands a different level of respect from his teammates. And I don't know that anything's going to faze this kid. When we sat down and talked to him and I asked what he had worked on most in the offseason, he just pointed, he tapped his head, and he was talking about mental skills. He said, I learned more about how to prepare and how to ride things out and how to mentally think about the game, which kind of caught me off guard because if you were around this kid every day, you would know that he was a very even-keeled player. It didn't seem like anything bothered him at all. So the fact that he has found a way to take his game to another level that has nothing to do with physical talent, because that's going to be there and that's going to continue to improve. I was really, really impressed by that answer and really impressed watching him in the early going.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous is this organization with their prize prospect going to play in the WBC? It's gotta be torture for this team.
And the team has had some bad luck in the WBC previously. Also, Luis Castillo is not playing in the WBC. So it's, a little bit of like good and bad, right? They know that Luis Castillo, opening day starter, is kind of with them and they can control those innings. I think the thing that gives the team solace, and maybe that's not quite the right word, but Julio understands how important he is. Julio understands that you've got to stay healthy and you've got to be available during the course of the year. And we have seen him make those adjustments in spring training. So hopefully that's a good sign.
How do they feel about Luis Castillo so far?
Love him. And the fact that he is with the team from the beginning of spring training, I mean, he was an awesome midseason acquisition.
But just in terms of how he looks, in the spring. I know he was with the team, but how he looks in terms of the spring, because a lot of guys just use the spring to tinker, and then we look at their ERA at the end of spring training. It's 7.5. Like Carlos Rodon right now, his ERA is 22. And Yankee fans are losing their minds.
And you know what? That's a great point, because when we talked to Scott Service and Jerry Dipoto before the season, or before spring training started, they said Luis approaches this a little bit differently. He does work up to opening day. He does not come into spring training ready to go and throw 75 pitches in an outing. He does use that time to work up. So they are slow playing it a little bit with him, and they are just fine with what he's showing and how he's approaching things, and they're not going to push it. They know that he's there and that he's ready to work on opening day.
Give me a sense on Jared Kelenic, because this is a kid who was, before anybody talked about Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic was supposed to be part of the future of this franchise. He's still with the team, despite the fact that, some fans out there have other ideas for him. Give me some ideas as to what you've seen early in this camp from Kelenic, and sort of, I hate to say, it's such an awful thing to say because it has such a negative connotation, but sort of a reset for him this year.
Well, I do think it's more of a reset because he changed his off-season routine. Instead of going back home and working traditionally at the facility that he had been working at that's owned by his family, he went to California. He worked with some new coaches. He adjusted his batting stance. He can now get to the power that we all know that he has, but when he changed his stance a little bit, that's much more available to him. He's also going to be in a platoon situation with A.J. Pollock, which puts him in the best possible position to succeed. Jared Kelenic is never going to be Julio Rodriguez in terms of personality. He is very serious. He is very intense. I do believe that there is still a lot of talent there that we are going to see. I mean, he is a talented player. I think the offseason, the changes that he made and just kind of how he changed his routine, not even the batting stance, which is already paying off, I think that one's going to lead to some dividends. But I do caution Mariners fans, the season does not come down to Kelenic. If the season comes down to somebody that you haven't seen play a full year at the big league level, you're putting your hopes in the wrong place, right? Do they need him to contribute? Yes. But you also need A.J. Pollock, and you need Colton Wong, and you need Teoscar Hernandez, and you need all these other guys to contribute to. But I do think that the early returns in spring training are a very good sign.
Jenn Mueller does a great job on the Mariners broadcasts, also with the Seattle Seahawks. On the radio side, the Mariners on Root Sports, joining us here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. She also has a very cool show on YouTube called I Cook, You Measure. How many episodes deep into this thing are we now?
4. We are 4 episodes in.
You like it?
I love it. It has been an absolute blast.
Yeah.
And I started taping season 2 in spring training this year. So I'm going to tell you that a certain Mariners catcher will be featured in season 2. That's going to be a fun one. But yeah, it's been really fun. It's part cooking instruction. It is part entertainment, and it is all about connecting over food and wine. So I've got an athlete or somebody in the sports world. So the former Mariner chef cooked with me and told the story of Griffey's last night in Seattle.
Wow.
And yes, how we all kind of put that together. So it has been really, really fun. It is a fun passion project. And for every episode, a donation is made to a nonprofit working to end food insecurity. And my show sponsors are joining me in that effort. So I'm very, very proud of the money that's being raised.
Every time I talk to you, I wind up liking you more. And let me ask one last thing before I let you go. I got about a minute here. How much does the end of last season for the Mariners did it linger at the start of this spring training? Because some teams will take it as fuel for the season. Some will say we're turning the page, we're moving on from it. Where was this team, and what was Scott Cervase's sort of mindset?
You know what? The team all said there's unfinished business.
Okay.
They were not overly thrilled. They are super excited to get out and prove that they can do more. And I think that's a good sign.
Jenn Mueller, catcher during the Root Sports TV broadcast this year. She's going back down to spring training in Arizona, not too far from where we are in Palm Springs. Jen, I always appreciate it. Again, catch her on YouTube with I Cook, You Measure. And I love chilaquiles, by the way. I'm a huge fan of the chilaquiles, so I'm going to have to go and check out that entire episode. Good to talk to you, my friend. Have a safe trip down to Arizona and be well.
All right, thanks. Anytime.
Love her. Jenn Mueller joining us on the show tonight and giving us some thoughts. It's better when the technical gremlins work themselves out, isn't it, Senor McDonald? Isn't that great? But that was the strangest thing. Nothing changed. I didn't touch anything. And you couldn't hear her. That sounds a little creepy, but I gotcha. Yeah, go and check out her YouTube. She's just so good. She's good on the radio. She's good on television. She's just awesome. Listen, I've always said there's a couple of women out there, and I'm sure there's more than a couple, but there's a couple I know that are the women that you would want to sit down and watch a sports event with. She's one of them. It's not even close. The other's Michelle Beadle. Beatles, despite the fact that I'm a little mad at her right now, she's still that other one that if you want to watch sports with somebody, you watch them with women like Michelle Beadle and Jenn Mueller. And I'm sure there's other great women out there to watch sports with. Those are just the two that come to mind immediately for me. You got any woman that your wife would let you watch sports with, Brian? No? We're back with another hour of the cash-in, hopefully mistake-free. That is so weird. Nothing changed. Yeah. I had a feeling it had to just be some glitch because everything else was coming through the board fine. And everything's fine in the board. That was so weird. Yeah, that's a different pot, though. But the Bluetooth pot, that was weird. Wow. We'll figure out a way. We'll figure out a way to work with that in the final hour for the replay. Just take the part where I finally ask her the first question. Just do me a favor. Just head and tail it with my first question to her, and then end it with trying to figure out how we do it. Or just tell me how deep into the segment we have to start it or something. We'll have to figure out how to back time it. And we can do that. No, it'd be too long. Can't do that. Still has to be 2 segments. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. The telephone number in hour 2 of the show is 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can text the show anything you want to text us, because if you text us and it's a good text, I read it on the air. If you text me and it's something asinine, I just don't read it, but you can text me regardless. 888-670-8549 from anywhere in America. If you want to reach out to us on the show tonight. Hey, good news. Mavericks didn't lose tonight because they didn't play. Hey, they got one over the weekend, though. You know, Luka and Kyrie had a big game together. I don't know. I mean, can they continue to play that way? I don't know. It's just, it is what it is for now. As I've said before about the Mavericks, I'm not going to judge them until we get to the postseason, because that's all that really matters. Cares about what they do right now. It's all about what that team does come the postseason. Suns beat the Mavericks, by the way, on Sunday, 130-126. And, my God, I got all my devices making noise over here. What is going on? It's like amateur hour. So the Mavericks are 33-32 right now in the West. But that isn't the biggest story in the West anymore. I'm sure like Kyrie and Luka are sending like bushels of flowers to, are they bushels? Bouquets, I guess. Bouquets of flowers to Ja Morant, who's just decided to incinerate his career, or at least do his best to incinerate his career in the dumbest way possible. I mean, it's got bad vibes written all over. And it's funny, I talked about this last week before his latest transgression, which was going to a bar, a late night after hours sort of thing, a strip joint, and at 5 a.m. inside a strip joint, flashing around a gun on Instagram Live. You know what Herm Edwards always says? Do you know, Brian, what Herm Edwards? Brian McDonald's our engineer-producer working on the show tonight in Houston. Do you know what Herm Edwards? No, he said something else. Nothing good happens after midnight. No. Nothing good. For a professional athlete making millions of dollars, nothing good's happening after midnight. And this kid just doesn't get it so far. And here's what you have to ask yourself. You know, if somebody doesn't send a message to him, and by message I mean suspension, I mean sitting down with him in a room as an organization and saying, look, we're just not going to stand for this. And I got to say this, I give the Grizzlies a ton of credit. I mean, think about this for a second. Think about how two organizations handled something completely different. You had Draymond Green Colcock sucker punch Jordan Poole in the preseason of the NBA. They make Draymond sit one game? Well, I'm stepping away from the team for what, 5 minutes? Until the dust settles? Until the ground thaws, and then you're allowed to come back to the team as if nothing happened at all? No real repercussions whatsoever? Look at how they handled that. Look at the way the Nets handled the Kyrie thing. And some people will agree to disagree. Some people will just disagree altogether on the way the whole Kyrie thing was handled. And then look at what the Grizzlies are doing. And look, maybe they have to. Maybe they just felt like this was enough, that they just finally had to. Because there's no way they didn't know about these other incidents that took place at the finish line at the mall, the thing that took place, you know, in his backyard playing basketball and, you know, threatening some 17-year-old kid or beating up some 17-year-old kid, whatever it was. I mean, you think about, you know, where we are with Ja Morant now and this escalating. And that's what has to concern you most is now we're at a point where there's an escalation to where this kid's waving around a gun in an Instagram video. Was it loaded? Was it not loaded? Who cares? It doesn't matter whether it was loaded or not loaded. It's the visual. It's you as an organization in Memphis having to say, is this what we want to represent our team? And here is this team. And I say hats off to the Memphis Grizzlies. They said, we're going to bench him. And everybody was like, oh, it's going to be a couple of games. It's indefinite. Now, maybe it just winds up being 2 games. Maybe they wind up, welcoming him back in a week. And again, maybe they're doing the same thing that the Warriors did and just waiting for the next outrage to occur somewhere else and then feeling like, okay, we can bring him back now. Maybe that's what they're doing. But I have zero problem with the way the Grizzlies are handling this so far. Not to mention the fact that it happened in Colorado. It's an open carry state, so he basically can do whatever he wants. It basically, you know what open carry means? The wild, wild west. That's what the open carry thing means. Isn't Texas open carry? You don't own a gun? Have you ever shot a gun? Really? You're telling me I've shot a gun and you haven't? I have. I've shot a gun once in California at a range. A friend of mine said, "You want to know what it's like to shoot a gun?" I was like, "Yeah." Went to a range, shot a gun. No, it's not about being pro-gun. I've actually thought about carrying one. You okay there? Did you hit your head on the mic? Pro move. I've actually thought several times. My better half has like forbid me, but I've thought for a long time, especially in my New York days, I definitely thought about getting a gun. I'm not. Can I tell you, we are caught up on Last of Us, by the way, so we can discuss. No, you're a few behind now? Next week's the season finale. Yeah, next week's the finale. What? How did it end? Oh, and he at the end he gets impaled. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's where we are. All right. Well, you got 2 episodes to catch up on. And that means we can't talk about Last of Us on the show tonight. It's a fantastic show. If people out there in America ain't watching it, you have to. But you got Ja Morant, putting himself in this sort of situation. And, it's not his first year in the league. It's not even his second year in the league. You know what I mean? I mean, we're at a point now where, and people could say, well, you wouldn't want to be judged on what you did at 23 or 24. No, I absolutely would not. But I also didn't go on Instagram Live and wave a gun around when I was 23 or 24. So you're right. I can't compare the two. But this is obviously a guy right now that feels empowered. And he can say, and the reason I'm not reading his apology is because they can say whatever they want. He can say anything he wants. Show me. You got to show me. Because right now, the pattern of behavior from Ja Morant tells me he doesn't get it. He does not get it. And again, unless you send a message, somebody wrote a great piece, and I don't know who it was, so I apologize. But somebody brought up something the other day that I think was... No, you know who it was? It was Stephen A. Smith that brought this up. And I give credit where it's due, even though Stephen A. Smith drives me nuts. He said, take a page, go and look at Allen Iverson's career. You're judged by the company you keep. And even if this hadn't taken place, there was concerns with Ja Morant because of the people he surrounded himself with. Calling 9 friends down to a finish line to throw down with with somebody at a finish line because they didn't take care of his mom the right way. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that has to be a red flag. And it also makes you wonder, as much credit as I want to give to the Grizzlies for doing the right thing now and suspending him indefinitely and just keeping him away from the team indefinitely. I don't even know if they've officially called it a suspension, have they? I don't know. He's away from the team. I know that. But it's gotten to this point, and there's no way that, this Instagram video is the first thing they found out about Ja Morant's behavior. There's no way this is the first time that he's done something that makes you go, we might have a bit of a trouble. We might have a bit of a problem here. And it's so hard for an organization. It's so tough for an organization that's in this situation because you've got on one hand a team that's considered a title contender, certainly a contender to come out of the West, a legitimate contender to come out of the West. And then you've got a situation where you're in, you've got a guy that is vital to the idea of you being able to win a championship. And you've got to put him on the bench. And you also have to wonder how it affects the rest of the roster. Steve, who's got to be big here? I'll tell you who has to come up big here. Steven Adams. There's not a lot of veteran guys on this Grizzlies roster. Steven Adams has to stand up and pull this kid aside and be like, yo, man, I didn't come here to have our championship opportunity short-circuited because you're acting like a clown on Instagram. If somebody's going to say something to him, I'd like to see Steven Adams do it. We haven't done any live betting on the show. Guess what? That's coming up on the other side. Some betting notes as well on the cash-in at SportsMap Radio. Just can't believe you aren't caught up on Last of Us. You suck. God damn. Come on, man. Make some time. The kid sleeps. Let's go. Which was not the same as the game. Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm all right. That did surprise me. I figured it was a rite of passage where you are. Bleep. 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 Wake up, Cole. Just an awful story this weekend. Did you see the Rays radio announcer died this weekend? 58 years old. Yeah, Dave Wills. doing their games forever, passed away at the age of 58 this weekend. People ain't supposed to die at 58. Terrible. Just awful. No, I don't even know if they knew why or how or any of that stuff. So anyway, Ja Morant's not going to be back for a while. I'm curious if it's done anything to the odds on the NBA futures with all the Morant mess that's going on right now. Let's see, NBA Finals right now. It's Boston. Wow, Boston's at plus 310. I don't know how. I got to say, watching some of these close losses for the Celtics recently, I don't know how anybody's getting this high on Boston as being the favorite. They lost tonight in overtime to Cleveland. They lost in double overtime this weekend to the Knicks. I just watched them lose another game. Can't remember to who, but I mean, Boston's, they're kind of scuffling right now. They lost to the Nets. That's who it was. They lost to the Nets last week. I mean, we kind of know what the Nets are right now. So, you look around and I tell you, I forget, and I know Milwaukee's playing well and Philadelphia finally snapped their, 16-game winning streak. But this thing really is like a 10 or 11. It feels like it's like 10 or 11 teams that could legitimately win an NBA title. And as much as we want to go crazy right now talking about who's doing what, it really doesn't matter. It's how these teams are playing when we get to, April and the play-in tournament. And then, obviously, I don't think a team, and I hate to say this, because I know the NBA is probably like, no, we want the play-in tournament to matter. The play-in tournament is fun for, extra games, for ratings, getting, some excitement in some of these other cities, giving that 9th and 10th and 11th, 12th even seed some hope that they can make it into the postseason. But none of these teams are winning titles. You're talking about the top 5, top 6. And I know people all day will say, well, if the Lakers get healthy, not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm the biggest LeBron fan there is. It ain't going to happen. Lakers right now, by the way, 31 and 34. They are tied for the 10th spot in the West with Utah and Portland. And now Dallas has slipped into that. Well, they're back in. They've been in and out, but they're back into that play-in tournament situation where, well, if the playoffs starts, hey, they'd play Utah in the play-in tournament. Then you'd have the Clippers and Pelicans in the other series. And again, just the other day, it felt like, the Clippers were 4th or 5th in the West. There's going to be so much movement between now and... But now you see what's starting to happen is, Phoenix is starting to establish itself with Durant. They've won 7 of 10. They've won 3 straight. Here comes Phoenix now. Could get as high as a 3 seed. But certainly they're certainly likely to be in the top 4. How about a Phoenix Golden State first round matchup with both teams healthy? How juicy a first round. It's almost a shame if you get that. The NBA might be cringing at the idea of Phoenix and Golden State in the opening round. Because those are 2 of the best teams in the West. That could easily, before the season started, you would have viewed that as a potential Western Conference Finals matchup, and instead you're going to get it in the opening round. And that's tough. I'd probably root for Golden State in that series, just because Kevin Durant gets on my nerves. Minnesota is a 6th seed. People are saying, look out. Give credit to Minnesota. They've been playing without Karl Anthony Towns forever. And they're still a 6th seed in a competitive Western Conference. And, much like the Knicks, who have only surged recently, the Sacramento Kings and the Knicks are probably the 2 biggest surprises in the NBA this year. I mean, is there a bigger one? If you've got it, I want to hear it. 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You want to text at the show, 888-670-8549 from anywhere on the text line, the cash-in text line, 888-670-8549 if you want to text into the show. Brian, am I wrong? Those have to be the two biggest surprises in the NBA now. It's got to be the Knicks in the East and the Kings in the West. They're 12 games. The Knicks are 12 games above 500 now. And the hottest team officially in the NBA, having won 9 in a row. And I'll tell you another thing. They're good defensively. You get to the postseason. You know, we were talking about this with Stan Van Gundy on the show, I don't know, a month ago, whatever it was. We talked with Stan. And I said, you know, does defense really matter? You just go out there and outscore anybody. And he said, no, when you get to the postseason, it matters. And he's right. I've said this all along. These 125, 120 NBA games, you get to the playoffs, that ain't happening in a 7-game series. You might get an outlier here and there, but games, you know, grind down, rotation shorten, and before you know it, you're talking about, you know, 107, 104, you know, these games won in the trenches late, where every possession just feels like a grind, and teams are playing defense for more like 3 quarters instead of 1, or the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, a half a quarter if you're lucky. But the Knicks are 30. I still say, man, the Knicks Cavaliers opening round. Give me, how about the Knicks and Celtics Eastern Conference semifinals? If you're the Knicks, you're trying to avoid the Bucks. That's what you're trying to do. You want to stay out of the Bucks' way as long as you can. Either hope somebody else picks them off, or you get them in the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe they're run down a little bit. That's it. Because I think the Knicks in a 7-game series, I'll say this right now, I think the Knicks can beat anybody in the East right now. If the playoffs started today and you gave me the Knicks against anybody, I think other than Milwaukee, they can beat any of those teams in a 7-game series right now. And if you don't believe me, or you think I'm being partisan because I'm from the East Coast originally, go and watch a game. You go watch the Knicks right now. Julius Randle's playing at an MVP level right now. I'm not talking about all-star level. I'm talking MVP level when you look at what Julius Randle is doing right now. I mean, he's been that kind of good. How many is Randle averaging for the Knicks right now? I have to go look. 25.4 a game for Randle, and it feels like he's been doing a lot more than that recently. Go look at the last 5. 31, 43, 21, 23, 28 in his last 5. And the shooting percentage has been excellent. And he's averaging 10.5 rebounds a game. I mean, Randle, been a sight to behold lately. He had 46 on February 24th. Just putting up monster numbers, hitting huge shots for the Knicks. He's shooting almost 47% from the field. Where are the Knicks now in the Knicks? Wow. You can get the Knicks. Here you go. You want to go throw $10 down on something? Dave in Connecticut, go throw $10 right now on the Knicks on a futures bet. They're plus 6,500. I mean, that's just still stupid high for a team that's establishing themselves as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks at plus 6,500, sign me up. 100 to win 6,500? I don't know how you don't do it. Wow. That's impressive. It's really impressive. James in Detroit, Michigan, texting into the show. 888-670-8549 on the text line. Says, definitely the Kings and the Knicks are the two biggest surprises in the NBA this season, with Mike Brown as my coach of the year. You know, that's a great one. Mike Brown for coach of the year. You know, how often do guys get it, you know, their third time around? And a lot of people forget, you know, his second time around for Mike Brown was for about 5 minutes with the Lakers. But Mike Brown doing some special things in a market in the Kings that has just been dying for a winning team. And they finally got it right with the team they've assembled. We'll come back on the other side. I promise we'll do some live betting talk. More on the NBA futures, too. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Over the moon! Brian McDonald. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No worries. We got time. Shout out to David. Hit us up on the text line, 888-670-8549. David in Austin, Texas, listening to us on our Great affiliate there, 104.9 The Horn. We love The Horn, don't we, Brian? Big fans of the big fan of The Horn. Oh, really? Okay. Who? All right, Brad Calder. There you go. See, Brad, you just got mentioned on the cash-in. But so did David from The Horn. So let's see. We're on a station called The Horn. We're on a station called The Freak. Are people just running out of good names for stations? I just wonder. Yeah. Oh, I've heard of the Sports Animal, though. That's been, yeah. There's a million fans. There's been the Fan everywhere. Everybody's done the Fan. If we started a sports radio station, what can we name it? Let's come up with a good name. What can we call it? No, we're going to do fun. We want to do something good. We want something that people are going to just be like, because I actually thought about buying it about 2 years ago. I almost bought a radio station here in Palm Springs. Yeah, I almost bought a cluster. No. Why? Because I'm broke? Why? Because I have no money? Is that why? You're like, how does somebody who's broke buy a radio station? I almost did. Yeah. I almost bought a cluster of stations here in Palm Springs, and I was going to make one of them a kind of a certain type of sports talk station. But I don't even know what I would have called it. I don't know. And then they decided not to pass sports betting here, and I'm like, well, screw it. I'm not going to buy a radio station here then. Taking my ball and I'm going home. Yes. I've been toying around with the idea of buying a station for a while. Yeah, I would love to own a station. Then I can do whatever the hell I want with it. It's kind of cool when you call it like 99.1 the ego. Since my massive ego needs to buy a radio station. No, but seriously, I've thought about it. Idea of owning a station. When you've worked for people your whole life and you finally get to a point where you say, I'm not going to work for anyone ever again, which is where I am in life. Like I won't. The only way I'll work for somebody again is if I get out of broadcasting altogether. And then okay, fine. I get a regular 9 to 5 or whatever. But in broadcasting, I always said I would never work. If I got back into it, which I did 7 months ago, I said I would never work for somebody again. It's the greatest feeling in the world. I'd rather be broke and not have to answer to some of the boobs in this industry than be rich and be pulling out the 5 strands of hair I have left in my head every day. Truth. Absolute truth. There are very few people I would ever want to work for in this industry. That's just being honest. But thank you, David, listening on the Horn, 104.9 FM in Austin, Texas. We appreciate you tuning into the show. 800-224-2004 if you want to call into the program, 800-224-2004. And again, on the text line, 888-670-8549. So you might be wondering the rest of the NBA betting odds. There's one other thing I want to get to in this segment, too. Celtics plus 310 right now. The Bucks plus 320. The Suns are down to 460. The Nuggets are plus 800. By the way, our friend Dave in Connecticut, P1 of P1s. He's like P1111. He's like the P1, meaning one of our biggest fans of the show. Dave in Connecticut said he was able to get the Knicks at plus 8,000 on his sports book. This is why you got a sports book shop. Right now, FanDuel's got the Knicks at plus 6,500. If you can get the Knicks at plus 8,000 and you're not making that bet, you should just stop betting. That's it. I mean, plus 8,000 on the Knicks, meaning if you lay $100, you'd win $8,000 if the Knicks win a title. And looking at the NBA right now, and I'm talking about on March 6th, 2023, you're telling me you don't make that bet? Tell me you don't put 60, you're telling me you don't put $10 to win 800 on the Knicks? I mean, the Knicks are the same odds as the Heat right now. And who thinks the Heat are better than the Knicks right now? I'll give you another one. Yeah, and look, I don't think they're going to win a title, but that isn't what this segment's about. It's about value. The Kings are plus 10,000. They're 11 games over 500 in a competitive West. The Sacramento Kings are plus $10,000. It's just nuts. The Lakers still have better odds than the Knicks to win a title. You want to talk about just the Kool-Aid drinking on the Lakers. How the Lakers have better odds than the Knicks or the Kings is beyond me. The Grizzlies, with the whole Ja Morant thing we were talking about earlier, the Grizzlies right now are at plus 1,700 if you're looking at making a bet on the Grizzlies. Even that number is pretty good, though, when you consider they've been one of the top two teams in the West basically the entire season. Being able to get the team that's second in the West at that price, you probably do it. Clippers are a little high for my taste at plus 1,700. The Mavericks at plus 1,800. I don't get it. Oh, the Nuggets just went down to plus 700 literally within the last few seconds. Warriors at plus 1,500. I would do that. How would you not? Andrew Wiggins is coming back at some point. Be damned whatever's going on with him off the court and stuff going on with his family, and we hope it all gets better for him. But the Warriors at plus 1,500, the defending champions at plus 1,500 with a chip on their shoulder and everybody thinking they can't do it. Just some of the numbers going on around the NBA. Live betting. I said I would give you some. Poor Dave in Connecticut's losing his shirt on live betting when he doesn't listen to me. Got to listen to me, Dave. Pelicans and Kings, the lone game remaining on the docket tonight. It's Sacramento 85, the Pelicans 75. 3:40 to go in the third quarter. The total on that game right now is 239.5. That seems a little high. 88-75 now, Kings on top of the Pelicans. Now up to 240.5. We're monitoring it. We may have a projection. Isn't that what they do on election night? We may be close to a projection on the Kings and Pelicans. Stick around, and if I see something I really like, we're ready to call the race. I may have a live bet for you. May have a live bet for you when it comes to the Pelicans and the Kings. Kind of thinking about it. We're at 165 in that game right now. 165 in that game. 239.5. You got 247 to go third quarter. I'll wait until the end of the third quarter, and then I'll give you a live bet projection on that game because it's on. I'm not just looking at the score. I actually have the game on here on my iPad, so I'm keeping tabs on it. One more for you on the betting front. This comes from the National Football League. With the signing of Derek Carr, the futures have seen a bit of a shakeup, and that is with the New Orleans Saints, who are now plus 3,500 to win the Super Bowl next year. In the NFC, 1, 2, 3. You're saying to win the NFC. Preposterous, I say. Preposterous. Right now, to win the NFC, to win the NFC South, right now they are plus 120. And Carolina, interestingly, the Saints are plus 120. Carolina's plus 260. Tampa Bay now is tied for dead last with Atlanta at plus 450. That's how quickly your prospects can move around. NFC, Saints now fourth best odds to win the NFC. Yeah, I don't get it either. Listen, they were the glam pick. Look, I think he makes them better. But do I think he makes them an NFC championship team or an NFC winner? I'm not making that bet at plus 1,100. If they were plus 2,000, maybe I'd make it as a value bet, but not at plus 1,100. Here's what's crazy. The Cowboys are ahead of them at plus 600. How does that happen? They've won nothing. I don't know how Dallas is plus 600 to come out of the NFC. I really don't. That's third best. 49ers plus 350, Philly plus... The Niners have better odds to come out of the NFC right now than Philly does, and the Niners don't even have a quarterback. Like, what on earth? We got to talk about this on the other side. It's nuts. Curious to see what the Giants do tomorrow, if they franchise Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley. Can only franchise one of them. That's what I'm hearing. But you got to get Saquon back. The numbers for Daniel Jones with and without Saquon are drastically different. So on the first part of that Jenn Mueller interview, when you say 7:09, is that end of her last answer of the first segment, or does that include my going to break? Okay. Here's what I need you to tell me. From the time we come back to when I need to throw to the interview and leave us, 5 to 10 seconds of padding. That's what I need. No, you don't have to cut off anything. I'm saying we could keep it as is, and I'll just throw to it in a spot that leaves us like 10 seconds on the back end. You know what I mean? Just back time it from wherever, because you know exactly what time we come back from that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That's fine. You just tell me. Good to have you with us tonight, rolling along on this Monday edition of the show. Jason Page, Producer extraordinaire Brian McDonald, pushing all the buttons in Houston. I think I've done all right through the first hour and 45 minutes, especially considering it is a fasting day for yours truly. No, but I'm saying in terms of my anger level, because I am bound to be hangry. I don't know how I'll be in another hour, but there is some hanger issues that I'm dealing with right now. I'm going crazy right now. This is the time of the night. It's 8:46 p.m. where I am on the West Coast, and you do a fasting day like I'm doing right now, where you've literally I literally ate at like 9:30 this morning. I had a little like turkey bacon with egg white sandwich. That's it. 240 I've had a total of 400 calories today. I actually went and looked. You beat that in like a snack. Who are you kidding? No, come on. Oh, you don't even want to see what I said. Let me tell you something. I put something out on Facebook last night that I didn't my better half like begged me not to put it on Twitter, so I didn't. But I went and looked at a recent picture of Madonna. And somebody had brought her up in a conversation we were in. She looks like Jigsaw from the Saw movies. Like she looks like the character, like with the cheeks and the bull's eyes on. She looks like Jigsaw. Like whoever they paid to do her plastic surgery. Oh my God! Like get your money back, woman. Get your money back. Bad. Oh, but it's true. It's like, I don't know why people do this. I really don't get it. Like, don't get me wrong. If there's something I could, there are certain things on me that if I had FU money that I would go and fix. But my cheekbones will never be one of them. I don't understand these people that want to look like chipmunks with like mouth, like squirrels with acorns in their mouth. You ever see a picture of squirrels when they load up their mouth with like 10 acorns and their cheeks bulge out? I don't know why some people do this to their cheeks. I don't get it. Like, who thinks it looks good to be 75 with cheeks that look like they're just bursting at the seams? Brian, something? It looks stupid. That looks worse. That looks worse than aging. Oh, you're live and let live, aren't you? As long as you ain't hurting me, I don't care. What would you if you could fix one thing on yourself, what would it be that you'd have surgery on? Come on. Freeze it off. Do like the cool sculpting where they freeze it off. I think it'd be my hair. I think it would be my hair. I'll tell you a funny story. I had an opportunity back in 2009 or 2010. I was doing an afternoon drive in Hartford. Yeah, back when there weren't, anyway, about 13, 14 years ago. I'm early 30s and had significantly more hair on the top of my head. It doesn't show on camera, only if you look at the top of my head, like the view, like if you're taller than me, you can see it, but like I got a big hole in the back of my head. So there we go. For anybody watching on the camera, there it is. Hold on. I'll turn my head and people can, there you go. That's what it looks like. I got a big dome. So anyway, and even when I'm on TV right now, like if I'm on MSNBC or Fox News or CNN, you don't even see it. You wouldn't even know. But 2009, 2010, I get to say, one of these salespeople comes in. They all want to make money. And they're like, hey, Jay, this hair restoration place wants to advertise on your show. And they're willing to give you free hair replacement surgery. I don't know. I don't know who it is. Yeah. I think it was a local. I don't think it was a national brand. I don't think it was like Bosley or something like that. Yeah. Or the Hair Club for Men. Really? Well, they offered me this thing and they said, go in and do the free consultation. And then if it's something you're comfortable with, we're going to sign them up for a big ad campaign. You're going to get money and they're going to give you free hair replacement surgery. So I go into the doctor and he takes this big microscope thing, where they analyze my follicle ratio and all this crap. And he's like, you're definitely a candidate. We could definitely fill it in. We'll do this, and this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. I walk out of his office back into the waiting room. And as I walk out, it's one of his patients sitting in the waiting room. And he's got this big Frankenstein scar in the back of his head. And I went back to the office. I looked at the sales guy. I said, no. So I ain't doing Frankenstein scar in the back of my head. I was like, can't do it. And now I kind of regret it. Because that guy's probably got a nice full head of hair. And it probably covers up his Frankenstein scar. And I got this big bald dome. Or a thinning dome. I mean, not bald, but thinning. And I'm like, maybe I should have done it. They sigh. Yeah, I'm 45. The ship has sailed. Older? Yeah, I don't know. That would probably be one thing. The other thing is, because I'm losing weight, I know I'm going to wind up with not like loose skin. No, but I'm not going to look like the people on like my 600-pound life who've got Dr. Nalvardian or whatever, where you've got all that extra skin. It's not like that, but I know there's going to probably be some, and it won't be a lot. Like, it can be done where they could take it off, just zap it off. That's the stuff that Cool Sculpting would work with. And maybe I'll do that. My partner told me if I go through the trouble of losing the weight, he'd help me with that. So, just saying. Something to think about. I'm just sorry. We may have missed the boat, by the way, on the NBA. Now, you know what? I still might do the live bet. The number's down to 232.5 on the Kings and the Pelicans. I'd say let's go under 232.5 on Kings Pelicans. It's 103-83 Sacramento, 9:41 to go fourth quarter. Let's go under. But remember when it was 239.5? That's when you go under. See? You got to wait till these things. You got to know where the peak is, and then you got to hammer the under for big bucks. Or small bucks if that's all you got. But Sacramento leads the Pelicans 105-83. 232.5 is our number. And it just jumped to 233.5. But we got it at 232.5. We'll take the under on it. 105-85. Kings on top of the Pelicans. 9:06 to go. Fourth quarter in Sacramento with the Kings looking for another win. That would put them 12 games over 500 on the season. I didn't get into it, but how on earth the Cowboys are plus 600? And I say this with all due respect to our friends listening on the Freak in Dallas, because you guys know how I feel about the Cowboys, especially defensively. But how you can tell me this is nuts, and it almost makes you wonder the fact that San Francisco is plus 350 when they don't even know when Brock Purdy's going to play. And your other option is Trey Lance, who's played about 5 minutes in the NFL. How the San Francisco 49ers have better odds to win the NFC than the Philadelphia Eagles is a mystery to me. There's got to be somebody smarter than me who could explain this to me. The only thing I could think of is the odds makers know that Tom Brady's going to San Francisco. That's what it feels like. He's not going to Miami. I don't care what Rich Eisen says. He's going to play for his hometown team in San Francisco. Final hour right around the corner. I'm going to Miami. Party in the city when the heat is on. All night at the beach to the break of dawn. Hi, Jason. Can you please provide a headshot? And also let me know if you'll need parking for the days you'll be here. Okay. The big tennis tournament started this week. BMP. It's the biggest tournament in the world after the 4 Grand Slam events. 2 weeks, full field, best players in the world. Well, they must have made this today. I'm crazy. Crazy for feeling so lonely. So 6:42. Well, then you got to tell me on the first part, 6:42. You got to tell me what my first question is. Okay. Okay. Wah, 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 wah. Oh, I hope I didn't get this game too late. Shoot. Got it. Final hour of a Monday/Tuesday edition of the show. Thank you for being with us. Tuesday. For those of you on the East Coast, the West Coast is the best coast. Ha ha! There is no third coast. There's no coast. There's no coast. Not really. Yeah. I'm all about the coasts. I love the central part of America to drive through and stop and sightsee. No, it's true. I'm not. I stop. I drive cross country. I've done it 5 times. I love it. I did not call it flyover country. That's a terrible thing to say. I have never and would never refer to the center of this country, the heartland, the meat and potatoes of this country, the blue collar worker. Love you guys. Please. I am one with you. I lived in Rugby, North Dakota at one time in my life. Early in my broadcasting career. Needed a job. I was 20 years old. By the way, text from the 512 wants to know my thoughts on the new pitch clock. By the way, you can text the show 888-670-8549 from anywhere in America. 888-670-8549. David in Austin in the 512 wants to know what my new thoughts are on the pitch clock for college baseball and professional baseball. I don't care about college, but also, should they put the clock on TV? Absolutely, you have to put the clock on TV. Otherwise, fans are going to be surprised when they, find out their favorite pitcher balked because he didn't throw the pitch in time. See, it's a little more complicated than that, though, because then you get it where, the batter, if they don't get in the box on time, they could be called out or it's called a strike, which, it's just... I think players... Here's what I think, David. I think players are going to adjust, and you might see a couple of things real early in the season, but I think in general, players are just going to adjust, and it'll be a new way of sort of playing the game, and everything's going to speed up, and your games are going to be 2.5 hours long, and that's it. That's honestly what I think. I think I think you have to put the clock on TV so fans know where we are. And you should be able to throw a pitch within 30 seconds. I'll tell you the rule I don't like. I'm not a fan of the rule of you can only throw over twice. Because it brings a type of strategy into the game that's just not meant to be in the game. You shouldn't have to be strategic with your throwovers to the point that you're limited in how often you could throw over. I don't like that. Not a fan of the throw over thing where you kind of gotta time when you do it. If you do it on the third time and you don't pick them off, it's a balk and they get the base. I'm not a fan of that. So it's where I am on the rules. I don't care about the bigger bases. I'm glad there's no shifting, these stupid shifts. And I know some people will say you should be able to hit to all fields. If you're a Major League Baseball player, you should be able to hit to all fields. Well, you know what? There's been dead pull hitters around forever. Dave Kingman was a dead pull hitter. What? Yeah. So wait a minute. You could still do it with outfielders? It's just the infield? Jesus. So baseball's going to have to... baseball's going to... You know what? So baseball's going to adjust accordingly. They're going to... Eventually, they're going to shut it down that outfielders can't do it. Yes, it does. Indeed, yes, it does. So I want to talk about something a little different to start this hour of the show, especially a little bit of a departure from what we've been talking about tonight. And I'll keep you up to date on our live bet tonight, which, if you aren't paying attention, Kings lead the Pelicans 111-93. We told you under 232.5, and right now that game is at 204. So we're doing all right with 5:31 to go in the fourth quarter. We'll keep an eye on it. Did you see the story of this coach from Texas Tech that got suspended? Yeah. So Texas Tech coach Mark Adams has been suspended for, quote, racially insensitive comment. Inappropriate, unacceptable, and racially insensitive comment. According to the school, Adams was encouraging a player to be more receptive to coaching and, quote, referenced Bible verses about workers, teachers, parents, and slaves serving their masters. Adams apologized to the team. I have to take a deep breath when I read stories like this. But this time, I've got a bit of a different take. Adams apologized to the team after he found out the player was upset about the use of the Bible verse. Athletic director Kirby Hocutt was made aware of the incident. He issued Adams a written reprimand, but then made the decision to suspend the coach to conduct, quote, a more thorough inquiry of Adams' interactions with his players and his staff. So now they're going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Texas Tech finished its regular season with a home loss to Oklahoma State on Saturday. Third straight loss. After a 10-2 start, Texas Tech went 5-13 in the Big 12. They're 16-15 overall. They take on West Virginia in the first round of the Big 12 tournament on Wednesday. Corey Williams will coach the team in the interim. This is just a tone-deaf, stupid statement. I think it's, and people are going to get mad when I use this term. I think it's a prime example of white privilege, of a guy not really understanding as well, a guy not understanding. And I say this all the time, and not to get on my moral high horse here or anything like that, but I say this all the time. We do so much better as a society when you try to imagine how your comments are going to be perceived from the people to which you're making those comments. I'm not talking about in my role, because I'm talking to a zillion people, on any given night or any given day. I'm talking to such a wide swath of people, not a zillion people, but I'm talking to such a wide swath of people. It's inevitable that somebody's not going to like something I say. Okay? And I accept that comes with the territory. But when you're a coach and you're in a room with, 12 other guys, 12 of your players and some assistant coaches, maybe a room full of maybe 20 people max, you have to be able to perceive how a comment you make or something you're going to say. And if you're quoting Bible passages, you knew what the hell you were about to say. You knew what you were going to say to this person if you're starting to quote scripture, which I'll get to in a second, because that's a whole nother topic. And if you know that you're going to use that comment, you have to then say to yourself, well, how's that going to be taken by the person I'm saying it to? How's that going to be perceived by the person I'm saying it to? And if even for a moment you're second guessing yourself, you just don't say it. You find a different way to get your point across that you have to be more receptive to criticism. How about just saying you should be more receptive to criticism? You ain't got to get fancy and try and mention some Bible verse. Just say, hey, you know what? You need to be more receptive to the criticism we're giving you. I don't think you're being as receptive as you could be. Wow. Gee. Ain't going to rub anybody the wrong way saying that. So that's the first part of this. The second part to me that's maybe even as troubling to me as somebody who considers himself an agnostic, and I call myself a recovering Catholic all the time. Went to Catholic school growing up. I almost wanted to enter the priesthood when I was in high school. True story. But the second part that's more troubling to me and should be troubling to people, Texas Tech is a public institution. Public, not a private school. Look, if you're at BYU and they want to tell you can't make out with girls or you can't make out with guys and you got to adhere to some code of conduct because it's a private school, knock yourself out. You're a private school. People choose to go there. Nobody's forced to go there. Fine. Texas Tech is a public institution, and you've got the coach of a team quoting scripture to guys that may not even profess to that religion, that may not even adhere to that religion, that may not follow that religion. And now you're forcing your scripture readings on these guys. That, to me, is as problematic in this as anything. And this isn't me being anti-religion. Like I said, I believe there's something when we die. I'm just not ignorant enough or bombastic enough to claim that I know definitively what it is and you don't. If you wrap yourself in religion and it does something for your life, God bless you. And I mean that in the absolute strictest way. If it works for you, great. But it doesn't work for everybody, so why should this be forced on these players? We're coming back. Oh, we're looking good. 218 with 2:40 to go in the fourth. 16-point game. Huh? 232.5. Yeah. These possessions are going to go by quickly. 239.5. It was a steal. $224 to go. It's at 220. Eesh. Wake up call. Talking about Formula One on these shows? Really? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christmas. All right. Radios across America. That's the sound of radios across America turning off. I don't know, man. I don't know why coaches have this need, this burn, this desire. Yeah, if you're religious, hey, man, in your private life, I mean, even publicly to some degree, but telling these college students that they have to to run off scripture and no, sorry, just can't do it. Can't do it. Not at a public institution. Again, if we're talking about liberty, if you're at liberty and you want to do that, okay, I get it. Well, all right, but you get my point. If you're at an institution and it's a private school and you want to go and right. Notre Dame, if you're at Notre Dame, you want to reference touchdown Jeebus? Go right ahead. Go right ahead and do it. I have no problem with that at all. But at a public institution, I mean, it's like I said, it's just tone deaf enough to bring up the slave part of it. Like, oh my God. Like, how you can't say that. What's worse is you say it, and then you had to find out from some of his teammates later that he was upset. As soon as you say it and look at the people that you're talking to, you have to go, oh, you know what? Pat, probably a poor choice of words. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hey, if you want to text at the show, we've had some texters tonight. We appreciate those. 888-670-8549 is the cash-in text line. You can hit me up there anytime. 888-670-8549 from anywhere in America. Hit us up on the text line. Scripture. So I didn't watch the UFC. Boy, I mean, think about this. Think about if you paid for that UFC 250, 285, UFC 285. If you paid for UFC 285 on Saturday night and you get John Bones Jones beating, Cyril Gane for the heavyweight championship, which was a vacant heavyweight championship. So John Bones Jones wins this thing in like the first round and within, a short amount of time. By submission, I believe it was. If you paid for that, and I know this has been an age-old issue for boxing and to some degree for UFC and all these different things that you pay for. You know what the good thing about pay-per-view wrestling is? You're going to get a show. Now, you might agree or disagree with whoever the promotion wants to put over, but if you watch a pay-per-view wrestling event, if you pay for WrestleMania or something like that back in the day, it's not gonna end real fast. They're gonna play it out. We're out of time, but no, really. Just no guarantees when it comes to boxing and these. I mean, I bet you UFC 285, and I don't have the numbers yet. I haven't seen what the pay-per-view numbers were for UFC 285. Let me see pay-per-view buys. See if anybody's got it yet. There's an initial number on it. Let's see. UFC 285. The question was, would UFC 285 beat the numbers of Jake Paul and Tommy Fury's? So Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, I mean, this is nuts. Jake Paul and Tommy Fury did 775,000 pay-per-view buys. You imagine that many people wanted to see a fight between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury? That's a great number for that thing. Yes. So 775,000. And Jake Paul was bragging about it. He goes, "What professional boxer did that on their 7th day on the job?" Hey, Jake, you lost, by the way. Just thought I'd fill you in on that. UFC 285 buys came in at around 600 to 800,000 buys.
Look, I do think UFC is in some trouble right now. I think, and I don't know what you do to change it. No, I don't think, no, I don't. I think it's a problem with the sport itself. I think it's the marketing of new stars, the lack thereof. I think it's absolutely the lack thereof in terms of marketing their new stars, or just being able to generate interest or excitement around them. You know, look, UFC for a long time, it was WWE, only it was real. You had both the great athleticism and the ability inside the octagon combined with compelling personalities. Now, tell me about a compelling personality. Like I saw Stipe Miocic. Now he wants to fight John Bones Jones. And he put out this thing. Oh, I can't wait to take his title and this and that. And it's just a poor man's WWE in terms of, the sometimes the manufactured hatred between two sides and stuff like that. A lot of times a lot of these guys like each other. And it's like anything else. For a long time in baseball, Yankees and Red Sox, when they played each other, the guys weren't sitting there on first base chumming it up with each other and joking around before the game and hugging each other and all that stuff. They hated each other. There was legit vitriol there. They did not like each other at all. Now, in the era of sports where a lot of people have the same agents, a lot of people might work out at the same gyms, a lot of people might have come up together in the ranks playing, wrestling together in college or something like that. A lot of these guys know each other. So it's hard to manufacture hatred. It's hard to manufacture rivalries when all these guys know each other so well. In basketball, my God, these guys are taking off jerseys and trading them with each other and taking pictures and hugging. Larry Bird and the Celtics wanted to beat the snot out of the Pistons in the 1980s. They wanted to mess each other up. The Knicks and the Pacers with Patrick Ewing on one side and Reggie Miller on the other and Charles Oakley and all these guys, they wanted to beat the snot out of these guys. Now, they all hang out in the same circles. It's not the same. And I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying it isn't what it was. And I think UFC is getting to the same place where, half of what made UFC work were the rivalries. It was the sheer hatred. It was, I want to rip this guy's face off Hannibal Lecter style. Now, I just don't think it's there. And it went through its phase and it was really popular and it did well. And we're also, and this goes into another topic that we don't have time for, but the other aspect of this is you get to a point where people sort of become desensitized. Part of the thing about UFC and everything was the violence, the gore, all that stuff. People are desensitized to that stuff now. You can go on YouTube or TikTok any day and see that stuff. There's just no shock value to it anymore. I think it's in trouble. I really do. By the way, ring up the cash register. We're winners tonight. The live bet, another winner for yours truly. Thank you very much. Sacramento 123, New Orleans 108. Do the math. That's 231. That's under 232 and a half. Yours truly has picked another winner. Not going to lie. You listen to this show, you win. Just got to make sure you're in a state that either has legal betting or you're doing the offshore thing. But we nailed it. Sacramento wins 123-108. They improved to 12 games over 500 on the season. And I'll tell you, the Pelicans are in a world of trouble right now. I don't even know if it matters if Zion comes back at this point. 31-34. Just playing themselves out. 31-35, 31-34. Playing themselves out of a spot even in the play-in tournament at this point. It just goes to show how valuable, you talk about MVPs. I say this all the time. You don't learn sometimes how valuable an MVP is when he's on the floor. You learn a lot more times how valuable somebody is when they're off the floor. I've said that for years. Stephen Curry with the Warriors. And no shot without Stephen Curry to win anything. He's on the floor. You always think they got a chance. No Zion for the Pelicans? No chance. Might get a lucky win here and there, but that's about it. All right, we're coming back on the other side. My disjointed conversation with Jenn Mueller. She covers the Mariners and Seahawks in Seattle. We'll talk to her next on the Cash In. Stay tuned. What is going on with this left headphone? Damn it. Having issues with my left headphone. Definitely the Texas Tech stuff. The interview, to the best that we can make it sound okay. And then stuff on the quarterbacks, NFL quarterback stuff. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, the John Morant stuff's got to be in there. It was initially you could like do it in your head. Now I'm like making it hard. Sure. UConn, you betcha. All right, so what time do I have to throw to this by? Let's see. Be on the safe side, throw by like 33. Right? Yeah, that's what I'll do. Just got a text from the freak in Dallas. It's good tonight. I had a few texts. It's a good sign. Glad you are on the freak in Dallas. Enjoy the show. I'm still learning about y'all. Please give me a little background. Yeah, it'll get there. Yes, he did. Dave in Connecticut's a winner. Dave in Connecticut, another happy customer. He listened to our live bet of the night and was a winner as a result. We usually do at least one live bet every night on the show. And if you could just hang out every night with us, might give you a winner. Good to have you with us tonight. Our live bet winner was the Sacramento Kings, the under in that game, 232.5. Early in the fourth quarter, we gave it to you. It finished at 231. So if you made that bet with us, congratulations. You are a winner. We are the Cash In, SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. I am Jason Page. Good to have you back with us. Got a text from our friends in the 817. Glad you are on the freaking Dallas. Enjoy the show, and I'm still learning about y'all. Please give me a little background. I won't give you the whole background. I mean, if you Google me, you'll find it. But worked in sports radio in New York, San Francisco, did a national show for years with NBC Sports, do some TV here and there. Come on, what am I saying? My name's not. What's the guy from New York? I'm not George Santos. I'm not going to be like, I've cured cancer. Exactly. I cured cancer. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks for listening in the 817. I don't know your name, but appreciate you listening. We have the new Cash In text line. Just for you guys, I did this. Me. For you. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. That is the Cash In text line. If you want to call into the show, you can do that too. 800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. We got a big show tomorrow because we're going to have some sort of resolution, at least the start of one in the Lamar Jackson story, in terms of what that organization plans to do with him. Non-exclusive franchise tag. Do they get a deal done? Do they trade him? I mean, all those things are possibilities. We got 4 different possibilities. Choose your own adventure. So go and make sure you're listening to us tomorrow night. So we'll have news on that. The Giants, what they do with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Cowboys, by the way, used the tag today on Tony Pollard. And the fact that the Ravens haven't done anything yet, obviously it tells you they're still negotiating with Lamar Jackson. The other thing it tells you is there's got to be some possibility of him being dealt if the right deal comes along. So we'll have all that covered for you tomorrow night. But right now, our 2-for-1, a conversation with our friend Jenn Mueller, who does a great job with Root Sports in Seattle. Mariners games on the broadcasts there. Also with the Seahawks on the radio side. And Jen, especially on the Seahawks on the Seattle side, they signed Geno Smith 3 years, $105 million. Why did it take so long? Well, we'll get some thoughts with Jen on the other side on the Seattle Mariners. She does a great job pre and post game on Root Sports on the TV side there on the Mariners. What do they do as an encore to making the postseason last year and snapping the longest drought in baseball? What does it mean for this organization going forward? Year 2 of Julio Rodriguez. I want to get her thoughts on that. And a whole bunch more as we continue. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Bada boom. All right, I got this one on my end. Nope. Yeah, that recorded without any problem on my side. The first half recorded fine, but it was, because of all the other stuff, editing it on my side would be a headache. Yeah, no, I still need music. Yeah. Joined by the great Jenn Mueller, Seahawks Sideline, Mariners TV. And I got to talk to him during the Mariners. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Joined by the great Jenn Mueller, Seahawks Sideline, Mariners TV.
giving us some time. Isn't Dave Sims the greatest, by the way? Dave Sims is I've known Dave Sims. I've been talking to Dave Sims forever, and I grew up with Dave Sims on WFAN in New York as a kid, and I got to talk to him during the Mariners' run to the postseason last year. I love that dude. Such good people.
Yeah, what an iconic call, too.
Yes. Yep.
Great call.
Dave Niehaus was smiling somewhere. I can promise you. He absolutely was. So year 2 of Julio Rodriguez. Last year, he came and sort of took baseball by storm. Had the big spring training, made the team. Now he's basically the face of the franchise a year later, and has to come into the season sort of carrying that. Give me a sense. You were down at spring training. You're getting ready to go back. Give me a sense for the feeling around Julio and anything you notice in a difference from spring training last year to where we are now.
Well, it's funny that you say year 2 of Julio because we've actually been around Julio for a few years.
That's fair.
Was there as a minor league invite. And so when I say that nothing has changed outside of the amount of mail in his locker and the number of people looking for his autograph, I've got a pretty good base to compare it to. That's really good news for Mariners fans. Look, he still has the same smile. He's got the same charisma. He has got the same work ethic. He just commands a different level of respect from his teammates. And I don't know that anything's going to faze this kid. When we sat down and talked to him and I asked what he had worked on most in the offseason, he just pointed, he tapped his head, and he was talking about mental skills. He said, I learned more about how to prepare and how to ride things out and how to mentally think about the game, which kind of caught me off guard because if you were around this kid every day, you would know that he was a very even-keeled player. It didn't seem like anything bothered him at all. So the fact that he has found a way to take his game to another level that has nothing to do with physical talent, because that's going to be there and that's going to continue to improve. I was really, really impressed by that answer and really impressed watching him in the early going.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous is this organization with their prize prospect going to play in the WBC? It's gotta be torture for this team.
And the team has had some bad luck in the WBC previously. Also, Luis Castillo is not playing in the WBC. So it's, a little bit of like good and bad, right? They know that Luis Castillo, opening day starter, is kind of with them and they can control those innings. I think the thing that gives the team solace, and maybe that's not quite the right word, but Julio understands how important he is. Julio understands that you've got to stay healthy and you've got to be available during the course of the year. And we have seen him make those adjustments in spring training. So hopefully that's a good sign.
How do they feel about Luis Castillo so far?
Love him. And the fact that he is with the team from the beginning of spring training, I mean, he was an awesome midseason acquisition.
But just in terms of how he looks, in the spring. I know he was with the team, but how he looks in terms of the spring, because a lot of guys just use the spring to tinker. And then we look at their ERA at the end of spring training. It's 7.5. Like Carlos Rodon right now, his ERA is 22. Yankee fans are losing their minds.
And you know what? That's a great point, because when we talked to Scott Service and Jerry Dipoto before the season or before spring training started, they said Luis approaches this a little bit differently. He does work up to opening day. He does not come into spring training ready to go and throw 75 pitches in an outing. He does use that time to work up. So they are slow playing it a little bit with him, and they are just fine with what he's showing and how he's approaching things, and they're not going to push it. They know that he's there and that he's ready to work on opening day.
Give me a sense on Jared Kelenic, because this is a kid who was, before anybody talked about Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic was supposed to be part of the future of this franchise. He's still with the team, despite the fact that, some fans out there have other ideas for him. Give me some ideas as to what you've seen early in this camp from Kelenic, and sort of, I hate to say, it's such an awful thing to say because it has such a negative connotation, but sort of a reset for him this year.
Well, I do it's more of a reset because he changed his off-season routine. Instead of going back home and working traditionally at the facility that he had been working at that's owned by his family, he went to California. He worked with some new coaches. He adjusted his batting stance. He can now get to the power that we all know that he has, but when he changed his stance a little bit, that's much more available to him. He's also going to be in a platoon situation with A.J. Pollock, which puts him in the best possible position to succeed. Jared Kelenic is never going to be Julio Rodriguez in terms of personality. He is very serious. He is very intense. I do believe that there is still a lot of talent there that we are going to see. I mean, he is a talented player. I think the offseason, the changes that he made, and just kind of how he changed his routine, not even the batting stance, which is already paying off, I think that one's going to lead to some dividends. But I do caution Mariners fans, the season does not come down to Kelenic. If the season comes down to somebody that you haven't seen play a full year at the big league level, you're putting your hopes in the wrong place, right? Do they need him to contribute? Yes. But you also need A.J. Pollock, and you need Colton Wong, and you need Teoscar Hernandez, and you need all these other guys to contribute to. But I do think that the early returns in spring training are a very good sign.
Jenn Mueller does a great job on the Mariners broadcasts, also with the Seattle Seahawks on the radio side, the Mariners on Root Sports, joining us here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. She also has a very cool show on YouTube called I Cook, You Measure. How many episodes deep into this thing are we now?
4. We are 4 episodes in.
You like it?
I love it. It has been an absolute blast.
Yeah.
And I started taping season 2 in spring training this year. So I'm going to tell you that a certain Mariners catcher will be featured in season 2. That's going to be a fun one. But yeah, it's been really fun. It's part cooking instruction. It is part entertainment, and it is all about connecting over food and wine. So I've got an athlete or somebody in the sports world, so the former Mariners chef, cooked with me and told the story of Griffey's last night in Seattle.
Wow.
And yes, how we all kind of put that together. So it has been really, really fun. It is a fun passion project. And for every episode, a donation is made to a nonprofit working to end food insecurity. Oh. And my show sponsors are joining me in that effort. So I'm very, very proud of the money that's being raised.
Every time I talk to you, I wind up liking you more. And let me ask one last thing before I let you go. I got about a minute here. How much does the end of last season for the Mariners did it linger at the start of this spring training? Because some teams will take it as fuel for the season. Some will say we're turning the page, we're moving on from it. Where was this team, and what was Scott Cervase's sort of mindset?
You know what? The team all said there's unfinished business. Okay. They were not overly thrilled. They are super excited to get out and prove that they can do more. And I think that's a good sign.
Jenn Mueller, catcher during the Root Sports TV broadcast this year. She's going back down to spring training in Arizona, not too far from where we are in Palm Springs. Jenn, I always appreciate it. Again, catch her on YouTube with I Cook, You Measure. And I love chilaquiles, by the way. I'm a huge fan of the chilaquiles, so I'm going to have to go and check out that entire episode. Good to talk to you, my friend. Have a safe trip down to Arizona and be well.
All right, thanks. Anytime. Love her.
Jenn Mueller joining us on the show tonight and giving us some thoughts. It's better when the technical gremlins work themselves out, isn't it, Senor? $5 million. Who knows what it means at the end of the day? You know, when you talk about the rest of the quarterback market, because you got essentially a similar sort of situation, with the deal for Derek Carr in New Orleans, and then you got Daniel Jones thinking he should get $45 million from the Giants. Daniel Jones. Hey, you can ask for anything you want, I guess. You don't get it if you don't ask for it, right? Like I said, what is Jimmy G's got to be worth $40 million a year. He's not going to get it, but if he's healthy, he should get $40 million a year. He's won more than any quarterback available on this market, with the exception of Aaron Rodgers, who may or may not be available. Nobody's won more than Jimmy Garoppolo. Crazy. Hey, Brian McDonald. Fun working with you tonight, my friend. Catch you back here next week, hopefully. It's going to do it for us. Yeah. God willing. I'm Jason Page. Thanks to Jenn Mueller for stopping by. I'm Jason. We'll catch you tomorrow on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Bye. Yeah, I'm fine. What, you gonna go get Pizza Hut right now? What is that? Oh no, I don't. I do intermittent fasting, so I can't. I can't eat before I go to bed. Yeah, I'll eat tomorrow. Thank you, my friend. I'll be in touch. Okay. Thank you, my friend. Have a good night. All right, bye-bye. That does it for us on the radio side. It does it for us on the video side. Thanks for watching tonight. I will catch you all back here on Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. We're finally going to get a new pull-up in another 7 or 8 days. So we'll have our background back, which has disappeared since our other one fell apart. Thanks for watching tonight. I'll see you all back here on Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Have a good night. Bye.